Hello, Kalive here, and welcome back to Ark Survival Ascended, Scorched Earth. So we are here in the desert, and we're at the desert base, and this is the base. So we did finish this up. This is specifically for wyvern breeding. So we have some wyverns here that are the best stats that we currently have available to us, although we do have something a little bit better. So we do have 31 health and 30 damage, but I did happen to get a even better baby here. This is a 37 damage baby, 175. So this one's being raised up. We have a long time left for this one to grow up, and I do have another one that's being raised. I'm a little short on females, so I'm raising one more to get caught up with that, and then I need to go ahead and probably maybe raise two more females to kind of round out the team. But I do have a pretty good amount of various statted lightning wyverns. The majority of them have 26 damage, and then I have a new generation of them that have 30 damage, but I think that's probably like, I don't know, 8 or 9 of them. So we're gonna have like a mix of lightning wyvern stats. Then once this one gets grown up, I'll incorporate this 37 damage into the pack, and that should be a pretty big boost. So this will maybe work for us with the alpha. So I might have these guys ready for the alpha boss, and in the meantime I'll just work on getting these ready for the gamma and beta. So these definitely should work for the gamma and beta. 30 damage definitely should be good enough. The ones I've been leveling up have been getting 10k health, and then they have been getting close to 500 to 600% damage, which I think that's going to be good enough to do the gamma and the beta boss. We'll see how we do on the beta before we can judge how the alpha will do, but at the very least we do have a backup. So yeah, that's kind of the progress of the wyverns. We do have a lot of them ready to go. This will probably round out the group, so it's take a little while for this one to get raised up. But there are some things we can do in the meantime, which will be like leveling up the wyverns. I want to show how that process works. And we also have some rexes we need to get working on. And so let's head to the other base, and I'll kind of show you that section and what's been going on over there. Alright, back at the main base, and this is kind of where we are with the rexes. So we do have a 33 HP and a 41 damage rex. This is the one that we just recently got, which was a wild one, and I believe it was level 120 or 125, and it wound up getting 41 points of damage. So it was pretty good. And this is really why I don't tend to disregard the level 120s and 125s, because you may get really lucky, and then there's a chance they could get a pretty good roll on one of your stats that you want, and that's why I'm okay with taming like level 120s and 125s. I know a lot of people tend to avoid those, but still I think it's worth at least checking out if you have the resources to do that. So we wound up getting these 41 damage, 33 health rexes, and this is probably the ones we're going to be using, unless I can happen to get a higher 40 plus health rex. That would be nice. And a couple of other things. Also have been running some of the loot crates in the desert, and I've also been running some of the cave loot crates. I did wind up getting a pretty nice shotgun blueprint. We have this one right here, this Mastercraft pump action shotgun. It actually is fairly cheap. It does cost 823 polymer, but for the most part it's cheap enough, especially on this map. The cementing paste isn't too bad either, since we have a lot of bugs we can get. And I got this from a loot crate in the desert. So it's a desert crate. It's one of the red ones that are out there. So you can get some pretty good stuff out there, but it could take you a while to get something good. And as far as like Rex saddles, I do have a 101. It does require 13,000 hide. I did get a 58 as well. So I'm not quite sure what I would probably use. I definitely prefer Mastercraft's Rex saddles just because it lowers the metal and the hide requirements, which are the two biggest ones on this map. Hide not so bad, but 13k hide is still a huge pain to get. The metal also isn't too terrible, but it's going to require you doing a lot of runs. And while we're on the topic of the bosses, there's one thing we're going to need to do before we actually get the boss. One important piece of equipment, and that is going to be the gas mask. So this is what you need right here, is this gas mask, which requires absorbent substrate, polymer, and crystal. The absorbent substrate is a little difficult to get on this map, only because of the black pearls that you required. Those only come from the death worms, so you might have to start farming up death worms at this point. And the gas masks are needed for the Manticore, because the Manticore does do a poison attack that will increase your torpor, and if you don't have a mask on, you will take enough of the poison in that you'll pass out, and you'll most likely die in there, and then that will cause you to fail. It's not just the Manticore, there's actually other mobs in there. There's the Manticore, there's the elementals that are spawned, and there's also death worms. So all three of those things you have to really be careful with, and it's not a big deal if you're on a Wyvern, but the biggest risk you do have with being on a Wyvern is that you could get knocked out from the gas. The gas masks are pretty much required. I don't actually know if you could use a full set of scuba gear. You might be able to use that. It might be the same mechanic that's also in the swamp cave on the island. I've not tested it out though, so I can't 100% confirm that that works, but it could be the same mechanic. But the simplest thing would be is to go out and either farm up the absorbent substrate, which I do have a decent amount of. So let's go look over here. Yeah, so we do have 6, so I could make 3 masks actually. And you can get this from red drops. Specifically red drops with rings are probably your best bet. So if you haven't started that yet, go for that. And then once again, if you want to actually craft the absorbent substrate, you have to craft it in here, and it does require black pearls. You need at least 8 of them. Black pearls aren't that hard to get, especially if you get an alpha deathworm, then it should be pretty easy to get. If you have a pretty high level dragon, like a 200 plus dragon with 400% melee, you should definitely be good to go with killing the alpha deathworms. You have to fly off and then regen health, but definitely within the realm of getting that. And then the other thing that might be a little bit difficult to get will be sap. I don't think I've showed you where to get that from, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'll just go out there and show you where that is. Alright, so this is where you would get sap from. So if you look at these trees here, these are the Joshua trees, and every once in a while you'll see a darker one like this. It's kind of almost like a really darker brown version of these trees. If you can compare it where the lighting is really weird, but the tops look like a dark green instead of like a more vibrant green. And these are the ones you want to look for. They look like very dried trees, like they're actually just dried out versions of these trees. And if we use a chainsaw, so that we get sap from these specific ones. You have to get rid of the wood and stuff, but you do get sap from these darker versions of these trees. And you can see like this one looks more vibrant, looks more alive, and it takes a little bit of time, but you can fly around and look specifically for those versions. The other trees, I don't know what the percentage drop rate is for the normal ones. I know it's very low, and it's definitely not worth spending the time doing it unless you absolutely can't find these darker versions. But yeah, like this one right here, looks kind of dark, but it is, yeah, it might actually have some sap on it. Yeah, it does have sap on it, okay. So yeah, it just takes a little bit of flying around, and you can always just test it out and see if it has sap on it. And definitely recommend using the chainsaw. This one might have it. Nope. Oh, it does have a little bit. Okay. Yeah, a little bit from this one. And if you want to know where I'm at, here, I'll show you the map. Right here, pretty close to where my base is. Pretty close to the Gatekeeper artifact. So up here, there's a lot of these trees, and it's really close to that first mountain we went to, which is up there. So it's kind of more the interior part. And you can see right here, there's like all these are very vibrant and green. Then every once in a while you'll have these like really darker versions that you just need to locate and then just get the sap from those. Okay, after that then we take our absorbent substrate and we can now make the gas masks, and I would say at least 2 is probably fine. You're not going to be using these enough to cause them to go bad that fast, but if you really want to be safe you can always get 3. And if you start getting like to the point where you're getting on your last bit, you can take the gas mask off if you're away from the Manticore, and as soon as you get close to the Manticore, you can always put it back on. So there are ways around that if you don't have enough substrate to make multiple masks. You can try to limit the amount of exposure you have, depending on how close you are to the Manticore. Those require you to micromanage a little more. Alright, so what I'm going to show now is I'm going to show you how I level up the Wyverns. And there's multiple ways you can do that. You can always use the babies if you have PvP server. You can just hatch eggs and kill them. Probably the quickest way if you have enough eggs. But if you're waiting for eggs, you can also go out and farm up death worms. That could take a while though, because death worms are sort of rare in the desert and does require a lot of flying. And there's a slightly faster way that will guarantee you getting at least 20 levels. And so I'm going to show you that. I'm going to take a wyvern, a low level wyvern. I'm going to hop on my fire dragon. We're going to go search for Titanosaur. So there's a Titanosaur over here, I believe. There was 2 over here. One of them is gone now. There it is. They're not aggressive unless you attack them. So definitely want to be careful. So yeah, I just run through. We can burn it with the fire wyvern. It does a decent amount of damage. Well, it did hit me. So it does do like a burn over time. Yep, don't want to miss that. The only thing you have to worry about is you could run out of stamina. So you want to be very careful with that. But you want to definitely fly high above it. And when you do land, it will turn on you and come attack you. So that's another thing to be worried about as well. Like watch if we land here, it's gonna turn around. Yeah, look out, sprinting towards me. Yeah, get our health back. It does like 1,000 damage when it hits you, so you don't want to get hit too many times. But the definitely easy to avoid on a wyvern. You can just do a couple runs on it. If you ever want to check its health, you can always like go from far away and then just de-aggro it and then come check its health after that. I don't know if it does regen health really quickly. This is a process I used to do on Scorched ASC. Just because the burn over time damage, it adds up quite a bit. So get low, when it starts getting bloody, you can just switch over wyverns to the one you're trying to level up. You can try and stick with just the same wyvern, but it's going to take a long time, and electric wyverns are really hard to hit on these things. But this is the process, so I'll speed this up and then yeah, we can kind of see the end result. This thing's getting pretty bloody. Be very careful though. You get trapped underneath it. Alright, we did finally kill it. Took a long time. Probably like 20 minutes. And let's see, we got 37 levels. Nice. I did add a couple levels before that. Definitely a lot of experience for killing those things. And even your character gets a lot of experience for killing those things. Lots of prime, lots of hide. Probably something you can use a chainsaw on if you need to get the resources, which I do not right now, so... yeah, lots of meat too. But it definitely is worth it. See, you got quite a bit of levels. And yeah, 500. This one, close to 600%. Definitely better than the average. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I need to go find another one later and get another wyvern. Now this one can sit. And I believe this one is 247, yeah. So from 190, or no, from 201 to 247. Not too bad. In about 20 minutes. 20 to 30 minutes, not bad. So XP per hour is pretty good. And surely beats flying around looking for a death worm or something like that, which could take you a while. And it probably takes about 4 or 5 death worms to equal one of those guys. But I do alternate. I do death worms and I do those. Alright, so let's head back over to the base. Alright, so now that we have our dragons leveled up, we have enough of them for a fight, we are going to go do that. So before we leave, let's make sure we grab some stuff. Definitely want to get our med brews and some soups. Probably just need like 2 maybe of each. And 2 of these, probably some cactus broth as well. Get some food. Alright, I think that should be good. Bring your gas masks, make sure you have those. Let's see, let me just double check it. Okay, so we don't need our Jeroboa on us. We probably don't need our gear. I would definitely take off your good stuff. And then just leave everything else on you. And as far as like the gear goes, you can just put on extra stuff that you've accumulated. I have taken off my good stuff and I've put on like other stuff that's not as good. Just in case something happens, you could have a problem where you disconnect or whatever. Make sure you also get the artifacts. I think I have a set of artifacts over there. You know what, I'll just grab these just in case. It's good to bring all of them over there anyways, eventually. And let's see, artifacts, food. I think that's about it. I'm not gonna make a shotgun. I don't think we need a shotgun at this point in time. It's really hard to hit him anyways. Unless you're like riding on a Rex and it's like landing. But if it's flying around constantly, it's definitely hard to hit. Maybe with a sniper rifle, but I don't see you hitting it very often. Especially with a bunch of dragons are flying around you. And as far as everything else goes, I have all my dragons over there. You want to make sure you bring all of yours. And I'll show you what I've done. I'm going to the green obelisk. You can go to any of the obelisks. You can even go to a drop if you want to. There's one right by our base, but it's a huge hassle. You have to mark it off to test it out and stuff. I'm just gonna go to one of the obelisks because it's available. I'm the one playing on this server. So yeah, I'll head over there and I'll show you what's been done to get ready for the boss fight. Alright, so here is a place that I've started building. Oh, let's try to land first. I'm stuck on the gates. Yes, I made a little house just to have stuff prepared. And I started, keep doing that. I started putting up a little wall around the areas. Only because the animals that run in here tend to be a pain and annoying. Once you get all your dragons down, you really don't want to start moving them around. So you definitely want to have them on passive. And I need to put one more wall over here to kind of block this off. Then I'll probably connect it with this little edge piece here. Eventually I'll make this bigger, but for now it's fine. And yeah, I was making these doors. Because you get all kinds of stuff. You'll get like raptors. Sometimes you'll get things like mantises that wander over from the desert. Depending on which one you're at, you might get wyverns over here too. So, like, I believe the red obelisks, you have a chance of getting a wyvern, or at least you used to. So yeah, I've just been working on this, trying to keep things out. It's really the biggest thing. It's not necessary to do this at all. But if you're using wyverns, you'll see why it's such a huge pain to not have something blocked off. So as far as the fight goes, I have actually done this fight once, so I just wanted to test it out. And in testing it out, I learned quite a few things. So what I do first is I try to get these guys lined up. So there's these little triangles, you can kind of see that, like the green lights form a triangle. I try to get each one of the dragons in the triangle, and this is the first layer. So we're gonna wind up getting 2 to 3 layers. And the first time I did this fight, I got 17 wyverns in by doing this. So 2 or 3 of them were left out. And I like to get their feet kind of on the edge of this metal, this first metal part. That's kind of how I line them up. And then you should be able to throw the other dragons straight up, and then they'll kind of settle down wherever they land. And after that, you can kind of try to fill in the gaps as best as possible, but I highly doubt you're going to get all of them in there. But based on the first attempt, or based on the first time I fought him, it actually was so easy that I probably could have done this with like 10 dragons, to be fair. I did the gamma. So what you also want to do, as you throw them out, is you want to turn on this. Allow AI special attacks. And for some reason this resets whenever you leave, and it's not one of those things that you can like broadcast to every one of them for some reason. So like this one does not have it on, and this one does not have it on. But if I am to go ahead and make sure the settings are all correct, you want to have you want to have group whistles on for sure. Put them on passive, and then I disable ally looking because it makes it easier to maneuver. And then if we turn this on, so it is on now, and clicking it would disable it. If I share this out, for some reason that one setting does not propagate. So it says it's copied to 6 dragons. Let's go to here and see it's not on for some reason. I don't know why it's not like that. It might be a bug, but this one's on because we turned that one on manually. This one we just turned on, so yeah, it's weird, but you have to turn these on, and I know it's very annoying having to do this for all the dragons. I think that should be all of them. Yeah, it's all of them. Every time we throw a dragon out, we have to turn that one specific setting on, and the rest of the settings you can set, and they don't ever reset. So like all the settings that I had from the first time I fought, they don't reset. It's just that one special AI attack thing that does not reset. And I'm not sure if that's required. I did notice that some of the wyverns were not using lightning breath that much. So I'm not quite sure if that particular setting is required or not. But we'll see. I do have some, yeah, I do have some over here. So we'll hang on to these, and I'll put those into the obelisk. You don't want to put them in there unless you are ready to go. So for gamma, you are going to need 2 of each talon. 2 fire, 2 lightning, and 2 poison. I did use those already. And make sure you get your masks. That's kind of really it. That's pretty much all you need. You don't need anything else. You definitely need some water, but we can fill that up as we get ready. The fight was fast enough that it wasn't that big of a deal. And yeah, I'm not gonna put everything in here until I'm actually ready to go. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to accidentally fire this off while you're getting set up, because that would be very bad. So let me make sure I have my... Is my dragon in here? Let's see. Oh, I already threw him out, didn't I? Okay, so one thing I did learn is you definitely want to track your dragon. So track the one you're gonna be riding. Let's go and search for my dragon. Okay, and track this one. If not, you're gonna have a pile of dragons. It's gonna be really hard to find that one specific dragon, but if it's being tracked, you can find it very quickly. That's the first tip I would give you. And then as far as throwing these things out, yeah, I'll just go straight underneath and toss them straight up. And they're gonna like kind of glide a little bit and they're gonna settle down. They won't land as nicely as that one did. Eventually, they're gonna be trying to fit into certain spaces, and it's gonna be really hard to get in there. Sometimes you get lucky and they kind of settle down on top of things. So as we do that, let's make sure we turn these on. You do not want these things to run around, so you always want to have them on passive. So I would even whistle passive as you throw new ones out, just so you don't get these things running around, because if they get running around, they start flying around, it's a huge mess, and it's going to take even longer to get these things set up. But yeah, you just kind of want to fit them in between the gaps, and I think we got these two in here in a good spot. After that, we need to like start throwing them kind of up and a little forward. You kind of want to aim for them to be, oh, not like that. Well, that's fine, I guess. You want them to be in front of this metal bar, their feet. So I did testing, and if their feet is slightly beyond this bar, they won't get in. But if they're in front of this bar, or even like slightly on the bar, they should be fine. It's lightning, so I won't be able to throw these out, which is unfortunate. You are not able to use cryopods in a lightning storm, if you didn't know that. Yeah, so I'll do this and then I'll come back whenever I'm done. Alright, so this is the last one, and some of them are like outside the boundary, which I think is fine. We'll figure that out. But once you get down to this point, you're gonna want to kind of like get in the middle here and just try to throw them out towards the middle. You don't want to be from the outer edge, and hopefully it lands in a good spot like that one did. Alright, so I think we're done. I'm going to throw these cryopods away. Put them back in the base. Stare it. What is doing that noise? What? How did that get in there? Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I start putting the gates up, because stuff starts running in here for no reason, and that's such a huge pain. It's fine though, it'll run away once we get out here. So put away everything you do not need. So I'm gonna take... This is how much mask I used up in the last time I fought. So very, very little. I'm gonna just put that one away and I'll just use this one for now. And I'm gonna put this in my hotkeys, just in case I get hit with something. You probably could go with stimulants, you probably could do that. That works as well. So at this point, you want to go under one of these, make sure that all the settings are correct, and yeah, passive. Make sure all your settings are correct, and then propagate the settings to everyone. Alright. Now, what you also want to do is you want to go in and make sure you know your hotkeys, specifically the hotkeys for moving to a certain place, and the hotkeys for attacking a target. So make sure you have those two hotkeys memorized. Write them down, because you're going to be using those a lot. And the last thing you're going to want to do, I'm going to go over here. The last thing you're going to want to do is go into here and go to this setting, modify order, and make sure that you set the class, add class to group. Make sure you set it to one of these groups, and you know what group you set it to. Right now I have it set to group 1, so it says remove from group 1. I don't want to remove it, I want to keep it set at group 1. So you want to add the class to a group. And then if you go to H, you can see all the tames. At the very top it says tame order group none. For me, the key is the numpad 1. So now I have tame ordering group 1. So that tells me that I can now control everything in group 1, which is all the electric wyverns. So I changed the class to group 1. The class is electric wyvern. And now I'm controlling every electric wyvern. Hi. So I guess he wants to hear what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go over here though. So now, with that set, we now have the ability to control all the wyverns, all the electric wyverns. And we now know which wyvern's ours that we're riding, which is gonna be this one. So we want to go to that one. At least close to it. And we need to find a way into this mess. This actually looks like a good spot right here. So let's get into the mess. And get to the middle. Now we can throw everything in here. All the artifacts, and then 2 of each. And this will open up the gamma. So I'm gonna make sure I have my stuff on me, I have my food, I have my water, med brews. That's all I really need. I'll just pop these. And we're gonna head inside. So we're gonna click on the generate Manticore gamma portal. That's going to put a portal around us, right from the top. I guess starts from the bottom here. I'll try to move to my guy and try to sit on top of him. It's going to kick me off, but it's fine. I got dismounted. I am still on top of him though. So now that we know the keys, make sure you know the hotkeys, and then you want to attack target. Let's see if I can hit this guy. Go that way. Everybody go that way. Now let's try to attack him. Let's try to get out of here first. Alright. There we go. I think they're attacking him now. There we go. Yeah. That's what you want to see. A pile of dragon fighting the Manticore. So let me put my mask on, just in case. I don't want to fail just because I don't have a mask on. So we can just go over here and just watch them. Yeah, 200 damage. The Manticore's damage is very low. So below, on the sand, you're going to have golems coming. You're going to have death worms coming. You could spend time killing death worms if you wanted to. You can farm up stuff for them. So as a person just hanging out, you could probably just go and do that. Just kill death worms, or at least try to get them away from your group. But with lightning wyverns, it's pretty hands-off. Like, it's just you observing what's going on. Yep, he's dead. Alright, so this is what you want to do. I made the mistake of not doing this. Go to the supply crate here. Grab the supplies, the elements in the head, and put it on your dragon. Do not keep it. So they changed it to where you're actually going to be ascended. So there's the ascension ball up there. So you will ascend, but you don't want to have the element on you because it will disappear. But if you put it on your dragon that you're riding, it will stay with you. So there's going to be like a little cutscene for ascending. I'm not going to show you that. I'll show you that when we get to the alpha, because it's not really that big of a deal, but we'll see it later. So you just need to wait for the timer to run out, and then we'll ascend. Alright, so yeah, once you're done with the fight, you get to this screen here. This is the character list. This is our character that we just ascended with, and we can now go back and download this character back to our Ark. And we have to like spawn somewhere. I'm going to spawn at the green obelisk. You spawn somewhere else, you have to fly back to your dragons. They're all there, don't worry about losing them. They're wherever you started the fight at. So if it's red obelisk, they're going to be at the red obelisk. Green obelisk, they're going to be there. Wherever you started it at, that's where they're going to be. Alright, it's dark now, and there's all of our dragons. So we did make it through here, and that's the fun part, is getting these things to land. See my dragon over there. Yeah, we have to just get these to land. I don't know if there's actually a hotkey to land all of them at one time. I just need to keep spamming this. For some reason, the flapping wings is very laggy for me. I think it's just all the movement and the frame generation. Let me get these guys to land, and then we'll talk about the fight and stuff. Alright, I'm just gonna get my dragon and get out of there, because it's just a mess. Yeah, that's one of the downsides to having dragons, is just a huge mess to deal with sometimes. Okay, so yeah, if you put the element on your dragon, you should be fine. You should have element now. If you kept it on your character, that's gonna be gone. It's gonna disappear, because you cannot ascend or change the maps with crafted element. That's the downside of elements. There are ways you can move it around once you get the element dust, and then converting that back and forth. But at this point in time, you cannot transfer element between maps. So if you do ascend, that element disappears. You also do get access to some tech. So we now have access to the gauntlets, the legs, the replicator, and then the generator, tech trough, stuff like that. You need to make the replicator first before you make anything else. And if you look at the requirements for this thing, it is absolutely insane, especially the 150 black pearls on this map will take you a very, very long time to get. So this map is not the best map for tech stuff. In future maps you get a ton of black pearls, but right now where we are with the progression, where all we have is the island and Scorched Earth, black pearls are kind of hard to come by. The island being the better one with the Tusos in the water. So yeah, if you're gonna make this stuff, you probably want to farm up the black pearls on the island map and then bring them over to Scorched Earth. So if you don't have access to black pearls yet, I wouldn't worry about making this stuff unless you really, really want to farm it up. Then you have to go back and start killing the deathworms. But yeah, you do have access to this stuff. It is pretty nice to have. A lot of this stuff's very handy, especially this tech trough. It's got a very, very big range, and it's pretty easy to make once you make the replicator. And it does keep your food cold, so it makes having to deal with the food stuff pretty nice. Generator is also requirements to power everything. You could power the tech replicator by using elements, but once you get the tech generator online, it's going to be able to power everything. This replaces all power generation, and the range for this thing should be a pretty good size, so you don't have to worry about having to have multiple of these, unless you want to start making multiple bases or powering teleporters and stuff in different places. But yeah, that is the Manticore fight, so fairly easy. I still want to do the beta and alpha, and as you saw, like the dragons, it took hardly any damage. Like, let's look at how much damage they took. Oh, 76 right here, so that's the lowest one, 76. It took about 2,500 damage. So the gamma being 4 times less powerful than the alpha, that one might have died during that fight. So we might have to get some slightly more powerful ones. And that one could have gotten hit by deathworms or by golems. So if you're playing in single player and you're using wyverns, you probably want to spend the time on your dragon keeping the golems and deathworms away from the pack of wyverns that are killing the Manticore for you. So that'd be kind of your job, is to just slowly whittle them down or just try to like outpace them and keep them away from the group so they take less damage from the mobs, and the Manticore itself does not do a lot of damage. But that's going to be it for this episode. So we did do all the prep work for the Manticore. We did the fight. You saw some of the pitfalls with using dragons, with the spacing on the platform, not being able to fit them all in there, and then of course trying to get them all landed right now. It's the huge pain. But you did see the benefits, which is they do a lot of damage. They don't take very much damage. So it takes very little time to get these things going. Just the effort to breed them, that's about it. It doesn't require saddles, so you don't need to farm up a bunch of metal and stuff to get saddles going. You can just go straight in there with a group of probably, I would say, 15 to 18 wyverns. And if they're like better than this, which is roughly like 550 melee damage and 10k health, you should have no problem with doing the gamma. But I'm definitely going to be doing the beta with this group. But yeah, so we did complete the map, essentially. We did finish everything on the map. So there's still a few things I want to do before we go, which we will talk about in the next episode. But that's going to be it for now. I thank you for watching. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.